Calaroga Shark Media.
You know who's an idiot? Me. Hi, Johnny Mac, idiot, with your daily comedy news. If you listened last week, you heard me a couple times saying I was siphoning off stories, sleeping some stories, making the podcast a little bit shorter to make sure I had enough for the holiday weekend. So on Friday, I sat down to record the entire weekend, gave myself the weekend off, and I finished recording Sunday, and then I scrolled up in my little document I used that has all the news stories, and I found a second complete file with a script for Sunday. I had 2 full shows for Sunday. So now I have a ton of leftovers. I guess a good problem to have in a holiday weekend, right? Yes. Hi, Jim Norton spoke to Forbes about his marriage to Nikki. Nikki is a 26-year-old trans woman from Norway. Jim Norton is 55, and they get along just great. They recently launched a YouTube channel called Nikki and Jim, Nikki. They upload content that captures moments in their life. Jim told Forbes, the most important thing is that people actually like it for what it is, which is just 2 people showing you the piece of their lives. We're not trying to convince people politically to do this or do that. We don't care. We just want them to judge us on watching us and whether they like it or not and just what they're seeing. I know Norton. In real life, he's pretty soft-spoken, thoughtful. You know, he could turn it on and do the Norton act in a second, and he's naturally funny. But, you know, if you see him in the hallway, it's like, hey, Jim, hey, just... easygoing guy. Do Jim and Nikki see kids in their future? Jim says, we're working on a dog. Nikki shares that she wants children, especially a daughter. You can see the chemistry here. She says, I think it's weird if I picture myself being 50 with no kids. That's very weird, but then you're going to be 80. Jim laughs at her joke and says he'd get a dog if Nikki will walk it. Nikki says, I'll walk it. I'm so ready for a dog because I don't have a job. If anything, the dog's going to be my purpose. Jim says she makes me laugh, even if she's cranky. I definitely married the right person. You don't see married couples like us where one partner is transgender and the other is not. It's the same. We fight about the same crap. It's not this earth-shattering different thing. Nikki has read her DMs and says, I don't feel as offended as I thought it would be. Most people are like, you're a man. You're not going to tell me I look ugly. I think they know that I look hot. And not to be on my high horse. That's reality, and they don't have a lot to attack me on. They were on vacation in Vancouver. Vancouver is awesome if you've never been. Like, I love Vancouver. I wanted to move there and buy. There's this bike shop right across from Stanley Park. Is it called? Yeah, Stanley Park. There's this bike shop there. I rented a bike out of there. I'm like, I just want to come and buy this business and just make this my life. Rent bikes to tourists. It's so beautiful. Jim got down on one knee with a ring. Norton said, I wanted to be more traditional because so much about our life is untraditional. If you want to understand Jim Norton in real life, that sentence right there, that's Jim Norton. Also, Jim Norton in real life, this next segment. Then I have a photo of her 2 hours later vomiting into a bucket. She's got food poisoning or something. You realize who you just said yes to and you threw up. Joe Coy. He released a trailer for his upcoming special. I can't play it for you because he doesn't go more than 2 words without an F-bomb. I got into this a little bit late last week. The whole working clean thing, like, I got no problem with you working naughty. I got no problem with you working swear words. But if you play this Joe Coy trailer, and again, I can't play it for you because it's like, yeah, so I went to the bleeping store and I talked to the bleeping store clerk about the bleeping potato chips, and he doesn't need to do it. It doesn't add to the material at all. It's just throwing in F-bombs for no reason. You know those people that just throw them in like left and right? And believe me, in real life, when I'm not doing this, I swear like a sailor, especially while driving a car. If you want to know what it's like to be, if you want to know what it's like to be in the car with me, should I just pull the audio? One of my favorite clips. This is Dennis Reynolds from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia driving. 100% me. Let's listen.
Oh, merge! Yeah, come on, you got to seize the goddamn gap. People are so goddamn inefficient. Oh, god damn it! I don't care if you're old, seize the gap! You old fat bitch! I'm not letting you in, pig! I'm gonna show up to work and everybody be like, why is there blood all over you? Because I had to slit the guy's throat who causes all the traffic!
Come on. What's your plan, huh? 2 miles an hour. There you go. Oh, God.
Use your signal, you cow!
So yeah, that's me, including all the GDs, including screaming at the top of my voice, except I throw in more F-bombs, all right? So, Joe Coy, I get it, but, you know, I somehow figure out how to do this podcast without dropping in an F-bomb. That'll be on Netflix, June 4th. If you don't know who Joe Coy is, he's, some call him an insult comic, because, listen to this, he went after Taylor Swift once. This was vicious.
As you know, we came on after a football doubleheader. The big difference between the Golden Globes and the NFL, on the Golden Globes, we have fewer camera shots of Taylor Swift. I swear.
Taylor did not deserve that, Joe Coy. Jim Jeffries. This is one of those stories I told you I was holding on to before I realized, oh, you have one podcast script too many. I have too many stories. He was talking to the Daily Mail about being heckled. He's been punched twice by hecklers. Jim says he's not the best at dealing with them. Jim tells us, if you Google Jim Jeffries punched, you'll see what people do with me when they heckle. I've actually been punched on stage twice, but it's only been caught on film once. One of the ways you can support the show is you go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. I'm actually shaking my cup here, but you can't hear it. Let me tap the mic with it. Because that's not a coffee. That's a smoothie. I like this smoothie chain. Right, what is this one here? Beach Bum with dark chocolate. My daughter just picked this up for me. So if you go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews and you throw a couple bucks in the tip jar, I'm going to drive right past the National Donut chain and hit the smoothie place. And boy, these are yummy. David Letterman announced the next two guests on, what is his show called? My Next Guest Is, right? Isn't that what it's called? Whatever, the Netflix thing. Miley Cyrus and Charles Barkley. David Letterman's show on Netflix returns June 12th. The Guardian spoke to Toronto comedian Chris Moose. They said Chris Moose is a comedic force to be reckoned with. Moose blends personal anecdotes with sharp wit to create humor that resonates with audiences far and wide. So he tells anecdotes with wit that connects with audiences. So that's both Dave Chappelle and Jim Gaffigan and Dimitri Martin and me. Drawing inspiration from the quirks of everyday life, he brings laughter to the forefront. Guardian, you're gonna have to try harder. Chris, how would you describe your comedy style? All right, Chris says, I guess I'd say that I'm funny. I try to model my jokes after my lived experiences so that they're more relatable to people. I like to acknowledge the weirdness of my life and experiences and then embellish on that. Wait, I'm not here to bash on Chris Moose. I didn't read this in advance. If you listen, you know I never read these in advance. I just kind of put them there so I can react to them. Oh, wait, so Chris Moose, you get up on stage and you tell a story based in truth and you exaggerate it for humor. Is that what it is? Let me guess. Then you joke about some other things and then, unexpectedly, a few minutes later, you go back to the first thing, right? Is that it? I could graph this for you. I've seen this. I like to acknowledge the weirdness of my life and experiences, then embellish on that. I think by finding faults and weirdness in my own life and telling stories and jokes about that makes it easier for the audience to connect and laugh at me. Who are your influences? He says his family, my dad, my uncle. But it was only until I was in university that I figured out the easiest way to make people laugh was talking about lived experiences and embellishing them, which I picked up from watching Kevin Hart and John Mulaney. Who's your favorite comedian right now? I've taken a lot of inspiration from Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, Sebastian Maniscalco, John Mulaney, and I've been watching Angelo Charoukas, Trevor Wallace, and Jeff Arcuri. If I had to pick a favorite, I'd have to say Dave Chappelle. What's your pre-show ritual? I question everything before I go on stage. Then when I get up there, I hit the autopilot button. I feel like a different person when I'm on stage. It's one of the best feelings I've ever experienced, but I still get nervous every time. I also drink a Coke sometimes. I love this article. All right, this next one will be my last story of the day. It is major spoilers for the new season of Hacks. So if you don't want to be spoiled, bail, okay? Spoilers for Hacks in 3, 2, 1. It was inevitable, spoiler, that Deborah Vance was going to flirt with cancellation. So when it finally happened in season 3, it is not surprising. You were warned. Executive producer Jan Statsky told The Wrap, the stand-up comedy part of the show has always been something that we work on really hard. It's a group effort. It's something we think about and lose some sleep. In one of the episodes this season, again, major spoilers, a video starts to surface of Deborah's more controversial material over the decades. She was supposed to be going to Berkeley to accept an honorary doctorate. The college students start protesting. Wow, good timing by the writers on this. Executive producer Paul W. Downs tells The Wrap, it was really complicated because we wanted to both show jokes that in the context of their time would have happened and would have potentially worked, but also didn't age well. We were really conscientious of not trying any material that was really inflammatory or really offensive. Some of the jokes include spoilers, including a Spanish to English dictionary at the U.S.-Mexico border, calling dyslexia listexia, and saying that Anita Hill should be drinking Diet Coke. Google that one. If you don't get that one, let me just read it here. Back in the 1990s, Hill publicly accused Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas of sexually assaulting her. A buzzy point of the hearing was Hill recounting a time when Thomas asked her who put a pubic hair in his Coke. Downs noted the joke was very specific and about the time. It was a very, very delicate needle to thread. This is well thought out by the writers. I like that show a lot. Another one of the staffers said, if a scene calls for a broad joke, anything goes as long as it's in Deborah's voice, and it largely respects Ava's view that comedy should never punch down. They say, let's just generate a ton of jokes and go with what's the funniest. Other times, a scene calls for a specific joke, And just because a Deborah joke makes its way into the script, it doesn't mean it's going to make the final cut. Downs says, we see how Gene takes it on. We try and adjust the punchline or take a couple words out or try a whole new thing. Those are the things we have to evolve constantly. This is really good stuff. The season 3 finale of Hacks, Thursday, May 30th. That's this week. And that is your comedy news for today. I'm going to join my smoothie here again. I'm shaking it for some reason. You'll just have to believe me that I am. Here, I'll tap the mic again. It's in my hand. You hear it. But smoothies don't make sound. See you tomorrow.